Over the course of the past couple months, Netflix's Squid Game has absolutely dominated the entertainment cycle, and the last couple days have seen a story take hold that is so dark and so grim you would feel that it comes from the mind of the show's creator itself. And for that, we're going to dive into it. But before we get into the heartbreaking tale, if it is a heartbreaking tale, that's going to be the question. Let's take a look at what makes Squid Game so popular, starting with what it is. This show, if you are unfamiliar, is a South Korean survival drama streaming television series created by Hwang Dong-hyuk for Netflix, and the series revolves around a contest where 456 players, all of whom are in deep financial debt, pay attention to that, by the way, risk their lives to play a series of deadly children's games for the chance to win 45.6 billion won, which roughly estimates to around 38 or 39 million USD. The title of the series draws from a similarly named Korean children's game, and the creator of the show had conceived of this idea based upon his own economic struggles early in life. And again, pay attention to that because the class disparity in South Korea and capitalism play a large part in the narrative of the show, why I think it's as popular as it is, and of course, what could be driving a particular narrative to try and maybe attack it a bit. The show itself, like I said, is very popular. It is Netflix's most popular show ever. It's not even close. We can see here on the YouTube side of it, so many people out there have loved it. Mr. Beast spent about $3.5 million rebuilding a set for Squid Game. We can see heavy spoilers down there with 19 million views for every clue about that. By the way, it's a good video. You should check it out. And of course, Saturday Night Live Squid Game song, which is amazing. All I'm saying here is it's entered the cultural zeitgeist is what I'm trying to say. Everybody and their mother is talking about Squid Game, and every day more people are being drawn to it and more people are diving in. But the thing is, even with Netflix having only spent about $21.6 million to get the show, it is currently also one of their most valuable properties with an impact value estimated at about $900 million, according to Bloomberg. And this is coming off the fact that, and this is from October 16th, by the way, so almost a month and a half ago, that more than 130 million people had watched the Korean show. And even because of the popularity, we do know that Squid Game Season 2 is coming, says the director. And if you've seen the show, where it ends, you know precisely why there was going to be a sequel. But this is where things get crazy because this story broke 2 days ago. Squid Game smuggler sentenced to death in North Korea after students caught watching the Netflix show. I saw this floating around on the internet and I thought to myself, there's no way this is real. There is no way this is legit. This can't be real, but it's being reported by Variety. And they're not some, backwards alley website. They are Variety, a Hollywood trade. Well, this is what the article says. A man who smuggled copies of smash hit South Korean Netflix series Squid Game into North Korea has been sentenced to death after authorities caught high school students watching the show, according to Radio Free Asia. The U.S. headquartered independent news agency RFA reported, quoting sources, that the series was smuggled in from China on USB flash drives and that the smuggler faces death by firing squad. They report that a student who brought a hard drive received a life sentence, while 6 others who watched the show have been sentenced to 5 years hard labor, and teachers and school administrators have been fired and face banishment to work in remote mines. And all of this to me felt 100% crazy. You're telling me that a group of kids watching Squid Game on Netflix or watching just a ripped pirated version of it, one of them's going to get killed. Other ones are going to be sent to 5 years in hard labor, and teachers are going to be facing banishment to work in mines. Something about this feels so remarkably crazy, so remarkably over the top that I believed it, but with a very large helping of salt, because it just seemed so diabolical and so maniacal. But then again, it's North Korea, so we kind of expect it out of that, right? And we can see here that this story caught on like wildfire in the last couple of days. Everyone's reporting on it. North Korean sentenced to death after students caught watching Squid Game. We got this covered. Says that Radio Free Asia Online is trashed after the smuggling. We're going to be talking about that too. You've got Inside Hook talking about it. You've got the Daily Beast, AV Club, Daily Mail, Kotaku, a number of these outlets that should have their own integrity enough to follow the reporting are not really doing it, which is one of the reasons why things are being called into question. And they're being called into question by a very unlikely source. At least this is how I saw it. And that, of course, is the director, Boots Riley, who on his Twitter put this out. Says, all right, I'm back because some of the writers for Variety, IndieWire, and etc. follow me. Those publications are running a story with no sources that was put out there by Radio Free Asia, an official propaganda arm of the U.S. State Department. I'm talking about the Squid Game smuggling North Korea story. So that immediately caught my eye when I came across this. Like, wait, what the hell is going on here? Obviously, this kind of fell under the radar simply because of the holiday weekend. Now, Boots does go on to post this image here showcasing that Radio Free Asia is in fact owned by the U.S. Agency for Global Media. Now, who is the U.S. Agency for Global Media? Well, according to their own Wikipedia page, they are formally the Broadcasting Board of Governors, which is an independent agency of the United States government that broadcasts news and information. Its mission, as described by Wikipedia, vital to U.S. national interests to inform, engage, and connect people around the world in support of freedom and democracy, and in accordance with the broad foreign policy objectives of the United States. And it is considered an arm of U.S. diplomacy. A little bit weird that they're the ones that are reporting on this and no one else is. Again, they're the ones who are reporting the sources. And Boots here says that they do get $753 million a year to influence the press. And he's not even kidding. In fact, in a post that he has on his Twitter, it says here that the USA GM provides training to media professionals on 5 continents, with priority often given to affiliate stations. Training topics include basic journalism, TV, radio, and web production, economic and political reporting, and more. These journalists work closely with panelists from international organizations, NGOs, and U.S. governmental agencies, as well as local experts. What that effectively means is that this money is used to help kind of train journalists to go out there and to report in the vein of the U.S. Agency for Global Media, who gets $750 million a year to push out what could only be really described as propaganda. Now, following up on this here, Ben Norton, who runs a website called The Gray Zone, says more ridiculous fake news about North Korea. What's the source? You guessed it, Radio Free Asia, a U.S. government propaganda weapon created by the CIA. That is absolutely true. Corporate media standards and reporting on the DPRK are non-existent. They just make up nonsense and stenographers regurgitate it. And that is true. When you're talking about a dead zone that feels like North Korea, at least that's my take on it, that it feels like it's a dead zone for information. Whatever does eke out, regardless of how crazy it is, we do kind of take it at absolute face value and we very much accept it. And we kind of just never question it, because how are we ever going to? There's the stories that Kim Jong-Un doesn't go to the bathroom. There's the stories that they have found an actual unicorn skeleton in a northeastern province of North Korea. There is a lot that they have talked about over the years, these wild propagandic claims that simply are just kind of there. And we look at them as being like a control tactic on these people. But I guess my question then becomes, is it possible that the same kind of disinformation is used against us in order to always portray them as being as bad as they are? I mean, remember the story of Kim Jong-Un using a mortar on an uncle who like disrespected him at his inauguration or something, right? There's all these weird stories that he's had, like school children torn apart by dogs or dissidents just eviscerated. I mean, he's a crazy ass guy. But anyway, looking into it here, and this is from an old New York Times article talking about how the worldwide propaganda network built by the CIA, this is from December 26, 1977, going to show you how old this particular industry is, or this company. Talking about here that there were 2 other CIA broadcasting ventures the Radio Free Asia, and the rather tenuous operation known as Free Cuba Radio. Now, Radio Free Asia began broadcasting to mainland China in 1951 from an elaborate set of transmitters in Manila. It was an arm of the Committee for Free Asia, and the CIA thought of it as the beginning of an operation in the Far East that would rival Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty. I mean, obviously, this is being done to push propaganda to stop the regimes out there, and I get that, but still, it doesn't take away from the fact that Radio Free Asia, the outlet that is reporting on this, is very much an arm of the CIA. Now, the radio station itself shut down a number of years ago, but it lived on in regards to journalism and now online reporting, even with this particular salacious tale. So when it comes to Radio Free Asia, we don't quite know how much of it is good or bad, right? It's just propaganda, and that's got to be taken with some grains of salt. Because when you look at something like Squid Game, the concept of what Squid Game is, like I said earlier, what is its thesis? What is it trying to say? Where did it draw its inspiration? And why is it doing as well as it is with the general populace? Again, let's look into the reason why it was created. According to Wikipedia here, capitalism and economic disparity. That is not something that is uncommon even in the first world these days. Saying here that the director, Huang, wrote Squid Game based on his own personal experiences and observations of capitalism and economic class struggles within South Korea. Huang also considered that his script was targeted towards global issues regarding capitalism, stating here, "I wanted to create something that would resonate, not just for Korean people, but globally. This was my dream. And I do believe that the overall global economic order is unequal and that around 90% of the people believe that it's unfair. During the pandemic, the poorer countries can't get their people vaccinated. They're contracting viruses on the street and even dying. So I did try to convey a message about modern capitalism. As I said, it's not profound." No, but the message is there. The message is loud. The message is clear. And a lot of people have resonated with it. Some people, like right-wing commentator Tim Pool, believes that it has more to do with attacking communism rather than capitalism, and was rightfully ratioed as a result. But we can tell that this story is all about economic disparity. People are literally gambling with their lives in order to try to win potentially $38 million to bring them and their family out of poverty because of how bad the class system is in these environments. And it's not just something relegated to South Korea. It is very much a world over problem, and people are resonating. So, I mean, is it possible that Radio Free Asia is pushing propaganda? I would argue the answer to that is probably yes, but according to mediafactbias.org or .com, whatever, they list them here as having a left of center bias and that their factual reporting is considered very, very high. But when they're the only source in town for this particular subject and no one is questioning it, everyone is just regurgitating it, can you even make the claim that its factual reporting is very high? And that, of course, is something I do leave up to you. Because when we talk about Kim Jong-Un, we talk about North Korea. Make no mistake, this guy is an asshole. This guy sucks. This guy subjugates over 20 million people. They impose insane rules and regulations on their people that are vastly malnutritioned and underweight. And many of them will attempt to cross the DMZ in order to be able to try to survive. They'll risk their life for everything that they can to do it. We know that it's bad over there, but we also don't know that someone is going to be executed for watching Squid Game. And that is kind of the overall crux of this video is, do you guys feel that the story is accurately being reported? If so, why? Do you feel that it's being blown up out of proportion, that it's clear grade A U.S. State Department-based propaganda in order to push back against the concept of potentially backing some kind of social change by criticizing capitalism? Because if you feel that over in a third world country, because that's how I view North Korea, I'm sorry, in a third world country with a completely megalomaniacal, narcissistic, sociopathic dictator, that he would execute somebody for simply watching a Netflix show that criticizes capitalism when they themselves, I believe, are a communist regime. Does that make you at any point in time stop and in the back of your head go, ooh, I don't want to be that? Maybe I won't think too much about this. Maybe I won't think too much about the criticism that it's trying to levy or the message that it's trying to say. It is something very much worth thinking about, I believe. And of course, as always, what are you guys looking forward to with Squid Game Season 2? I don't know what to expect. Either way, I'm excited for it, but I would love it actually if this particular storyline found its way into the show. Because if it is as ridiculous as it sounds, if it is just US State Department propaganda aimed at, for some reason, to criticize this show or keep people from thinking about it too heavily, then maybe it'd be pretty funny if they found a way to add it in there. Again, further adding to the criticism of the class disparity that the show has already done. I do leave it to you. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your opinions. Thank you very much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this kind of deep dive commentary, please leave a like, please leave a comment, and I'll talk to you all later. Have yourself a great day. Thank you again for watching, and peace out.